नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So next, which text are we doing today?
27.
27.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
ये देव सिद्ध परिगीत पवित्र गाथा
ते देव सिद्ध परिगीत पवित्र गाथा
पवित्र गाथा
ये साधवः समदृशो भगवत प्रपन्ना
ये साधवः समदृशो भगवत प्रपन्ना
तान् नोपसीदत हरेर गदयाभिगुप्तान्
तान् नोपसीदत हरेर्दया
नैषां वयं न च वयः प्रभवाम दण्डे।
नैषां वयं न च वयः प्रभवाम दण्डे।
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. May I read Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
My dear servants, please do not approach such devotees, for they have fully surrendered to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are equal to everyone, and their narrations are sung by the demigods and inhabitants of Siddhaloka. Please do not even go near to them. They are always protected by the club of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore Lord Brahma and I, even the time factor, are not competent to chastise them. In the effect, Yamaraj warned his servants, my dear servant, despite what you may have done previously to disturb the devotees, henceforth you should not stop. The actions of devotees who have surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Lord and who constantly chanting the holy name of the Lord are praised by demigods and the resident of Siddhaloka. Those devotees are so respectable and exalted that Lord Vishnu personally protect them with the club in his hand. Therefore, regardless what you have done this time, henceforth you should not approach such devotees, otherwise you will be killed by the club of Lord Vishnu. This is my warning. Lord Vishnu has a club and a chakra to punish non-devotees. Do not risk punishment by attempting to disturb the devotees. Not to speak of you, even Lord Brahma or I were to punish them. Lord Vishnu would punish us. Therefore, do not disturb the devotees and any further. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. So, I mean, in the subsequent verses also, Lord Yamaraj is going to describe this, is going to illustrate this point further. But just to put it very briefly, let's look at text number 17 of chapter 7th of Bhagavad Gita, knowledge of the absolute. Tesham jnani nitya yukta eka bhaktir vishishyate priyo hi jnanino atyartham aham cha sachamam priyam. So you see, one of those, the wise one who is in full knowledge in union with me through pure devotional service is the best, for I am very dear to him and he is very dear to me. Now, what is the difference between, what do we mean by the word devotee? What is a Vaishnava? And why a Vaishnava is given such a special treatment? So, Vaishnava means someone who has realized the absolute truth. Vaishnava means someone whose life is for Vishnu. Like we have discussed previously also this point, that someone who dedicates his life to Krishna, for him there is no material obstacle. because he has no identification with material nature. The process of material consciousness is actually identification. I think I am this, therefore I am this. Krishna bhuli sei jeev anadi bahira mukha ataiva maya tare deya sansara dukha. Why will sansar give dukh? There's a common theme in all these Bollywood movies, romantic movies, always some heartbreak. Why does a heartbreak take place? Because someone thinks, oh, I love this, I love that, I love him, I love her. This is just a mental concoction. In reality, material nature is as it is. There's nothing here, like nothing here to love or hate. So when we develop this attachment for material nature immediately becomes active and she starts punishing us. Ataiva maya tare deya sansara dukkha. Sansar is giving dukkha because Krishna bhuli se jeev anadi bahir mukha. We have turned away from Krishna, we are looking at matter. Therefore, matter is giving us trouble. So if we identify with matter, we are going to suffer because that's the nature of matter. Constant creation and destruction. So one should not become happy on creation, one should not become unhappy on destruction. That's the law of nature. That's how nature works. So a devotee means someone who has identified himself with Krishna. So one who identifies with Krishna, naturally he has nothing to do with material energy. So in such a case, he is neither happy nor unhappy with this material nature. Therefore, whatever he does is sinless. Sin means one's selfish desire. That is sinful. But if there is no selfish desire, that's what Krishna is explaining to Arjun in Bhagavad Gita. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Ma karma phal hetur bhur. Do not act for the purpose of gaining some fruits. Do not work with some motivation. Ma karma phal hetur bhur. So that's what Krishna is explaining in the second chapter of Gita also. So if someone does not identify with matter and does not consider himself this body, Pandita Samdarshina, this is what is explained here, they are equal to everyone. So again, the point is that the Vaishnav, he identifies, he's equanimous to all living entities. Samah sarveshu bhuteshu, mad bhaktim lavate param. So he's samah sarveshu bhuteshu. In all circumstances, he is constant. So therefore, he is not disturbing the material nature. So if the material nature disturbs him, goes out of the way to disturb him, then Krishna will punish the material nature itself. So these Yamdutas, the agents of material nature, if they disturb a Vaishnav, then they become punishable. Therefore, Yamraj is warning them not to touch the Vaishnavas. Because Vaishnava is not touching the material nature. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments? We continue then. Text 28. Tan anayadvan asato vimukhan mukunda.
Tan anayadvam asato vimukhan mukunda.
Padaravinda makaranda rasada jasram.
Padaravinda makaranda rasada jasram.
Nishkanchana paramhansa kulera asangair.
Nishkinchanay paramahansa kulair
Sangair.
Yustad grihe niraya vartamani baddha trishnan. Yes. So I have to read. Yes, please.
Go. It's okay, bro.
Translation and purport by student strong translation. Paramahamsas are exalted persons who have no taste for material enjoyment and who drink the honey of the Lord's lotus feet. My dear servants, bring to me for punishment only persons who are averse to the taste of that honey, who do not associate with Paramahamsas, and who are attached to family life and worldly enjoyment, which form the paths to hell. Okay. After warning the Abhadutas not to approach the devotees, Yamaraj now indicates who is to be brought before him. He specifically advises Yamadutas to bring him the materialistic persons who are attached to household merely for sex, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Yan Maitunadi Grihamedi Sutam Hi Tucham. People are attached to the household life for sex only. They are always harassed in many ways by their material engagements. And their only happiness is that after working very hard all day, at night they sleep and indulge in sex. Nidraya Priyate Satkam Vyavena Cha Va Vayaha. At night, materialistic householders sleep or indulge in sex life. Diva Charte Haya Rajan Kutumba Bharena Va. During the day, they are busy trying to find out where money is. And if they get money, they spend it to maintain their families. Yamaraja specifically advises the servants to bring these persons to him for punishments and not to bring the devotees, who always lick the honey at the lotus feet of the Lord, who are equal to everyone and who try to preach Krishna consciousness because of sympathy for all living entities. Devotees are not liable to punishment by Yamaraja. Persons who have no information of Krishna consciousness cannot be protected by their material life of so-called family enjoyment. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.4 Deha Patya Kalatra Dishva Atma Sainyeshva Asatsavapi Tesam Pramato Nidanam Pasyan Api Na Pasyati. Such persons complacently believe that their nations, communities, or families can protect them, unaware that all such valuable soldiers will be destroyed in due course of time. In conclusion, one should try to associate with persons who engage in devotional service 24 hours a day. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. See, now one may think, oh, like one very one brahmachari was telling me that Prabhupada is very rude and crude, and you know he's offending ladies. Prabhupada speaks so harshly against women. So you see, one has to understand. One must have an understanding. So someone may think that this is a very offensive statement, but I would think that this is a very stupid statement. The person is completely animalistic, dull-headed, who can speak like this. One who thinks like this is actually quite a dull animal. He's like a dull animal, no human brains. See, yan maithunadi graha medhi sukham hi tuchham. Now, very interesting point. Try to analyze this point. My dear servants, bring to me for punishment only persons who are averse to that taste of honey, to the taste of that honey, who do not associate with Paramhansas, and who are attached to family life and worldly enjoyment, which form the path to hell. Now, is Krishna envious of us? Is Yamraj envious of us that he wants to punish us for having family, for having wealth or something? Is it like, think of it, think of it. If you think that Srila Prabhupada is being rude or hard, then you actually think that Krishna is also rude and hard. That's the thought of a demon. Only demons like Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksh would think like this. Now this Vishnu has come and he's come here to destroy my happiness. So a devotee, so-called devotee, whether he's a brahmachari or sannyasi, if he thinks like this, then he's nonsense, low class, moodha. Because Krishna is not envious of anyone. Krishna is a friend to all living entities. How can he be envious? Then how can his pure devotee be envious of anyone? So if something like this is being spoken, then there must be some reason. One should not be a dull-headed fool and neglect the words of scriptures. So Siddhanta Baliya na kari alasya. This is what Jiva Goswami is saying. So when you are thinking of scriptures, you should not be lazy in the matters of understanding philosophy. Oh, it is written like this. I don't like this. I'll ignore it. Animals do that. Animal or dog is walking on the street. He finds something. Oh, I don't like this. He goes away. Nonsense. That's not a human behavior at all. So yan maithunadi grahamayadhi sukham hitucham. So look at the words one by one. Maithun adi grahamedhi sukham. Think of it this way. Maithun adi, that means sex life and paraphernalia. Ato graha kshetra sutapta vittar. So Maithun adi includes everything. It includes your car, Toyota, Honda, Mercedes. It includes big buildings. It includes Ambani, everything. Maithun adi, because all this is a result of sex life. So Maithun adi, all the materialistic pleasures fall in this category. Graha medhi. Graha medhi. This word is two parts. This is a compound word. Graha means one who's home, and Medhi means one whose intelligence is in home. That's Graha Medhi. This is opposed to Grahastha Brahmachari. Graha Medhi is different from Grahastha. Grahastha is one who stays in one place, and Graha Medhi is one whose heart and intelligence are in the home. Sukham. So there is sukha, there is happiness. It's it's not unhappiness. There is some happiness, but hitucham. It's small. It's insignificant. Tuchha means literally, insignificant. Yes, there is happiness, but it is insignificant. So, why are they harassed? Why? So, why is Krishna envious? I mean, Krishna has his Radharani and gopis. Why is he, unhappy if I have a small wife? So, Krishna is not envious. Krishna knows, Ami Murkha, Ei Murkha, Ami Vigya, Vishay Kene Diva. He's a fool. He doesn't understand that this is misery. No, napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gata. So dukhalayam ashashvatam. This is dukhalayam ashashvatam. This is ashashvat. You love your husband, wife, child, grandfather, mother, father, whoever you want. They will die because that's material nature. That's not their position. One who you think is your mother, you don't even know who she is. What that living entity is, what is your relation, you have no idea. It is just an illusion and it is going to end. As soon as the mother's karma is finished or your karma is finished, that relationship will end and you will suffer. That's why it is sukham hi tuchham. So therefore, Krishna is trying to purify that consciousness. Okay, tamaso ma jyotir gamaya. Don't stay in darkness. Come to light. So that light, if one is a Vaishnava, if one accepts a bona fide guru, respects him, and accepts his instructions, then this light is in the form of Krishna. If one rejects a guru and goes back to tamas, then that light is in the form of Yamraj. Then Yamdutas, when they whip the soul, then he can see all the light of this world. So that punishments in hell are essentially to break that consciousness, so that he gives up that foolish mentality of trying to enjoy material nature, which is not existing. It's an illusion. So that's why Krishna is punishing. That's why Yamraj is punishing.
Hare
So,
Krishna, Prabhu.
yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, sorry, you were saying something in between. I interrupt. Prabhuji, just like I know that Yamaraj is giving punishment even living entity who is very sinful. And after punishing, Yamaraj giving that sinful soul again to an animal body. So, Prabhuji, the point, like I just interrupted here because this realization, suppose a soul did out of ignorance, he has, or even knowingly or ignorance, he or she enjoyed his senses in a very sinful way. And Yamaraj punished the soul. And again, the soul got into another animal body or a body according to the nature of his consciousness. So, again, how in an animal body that soul will realize that Yamaraj has punished me or I did this, that. So now I will try to improve. How this like system works, Prabhuji? Like when somebody like a teacher punishes to a student, again at least in that state or day or 2 days or few days, students remember that I have done this mistake, so I got punishment. So when again once Yamaraj given the punishment, again living entity was forced into mother's womb, which is according to his own consciousness in the previous life. So how the living entity get improvement through the punishment?
Okay. So go back to fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada is explaining something very nicely. It's a very small point, almost we can miss it there, that those who are very sinful, every sinful soul doesn't go to hell. Those who are very sinful. So, like if there is a small traffic violation, the traffic constable will give you a fine. But if you take the car and you ram it into a crowd of people and overturn it and set a house on fire, then there will be heavy punishment. So if someone is a heavy meat eater, rascal, torturing animals, eating their flesh and all, then he will go to hell. There he'll be beaten up, whipped and boiled and fried, so that he suffers that pain. And that pain will become a part of his sanskar.
Gauranga. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Someone is saying something? Yeah. Okay, so that pain becomes a part of his sanskar and that purifies him. So he will naturally have an aversion to doing that activity in some future birth. He'll suffer so much harsh pain. He will forget the punishment, but he'll remember that sanskar. Just like in this life, some people are afraid of snakes, some are afraid of water, some are afraid of heights, some are afraid of fire. Where is that coming from? That's the previous life sanskar. The memory would be too painful, but the impression of that memory remains. So that keeps the soul away from such activities which will cause him harm. So in the hellish punishment, the person suffers heavily. After that, he is given a body which is suitable to his desire. Like in this life, also people like to eat obnoxious things. Like in Japan, they eat raw fish, or in Maharashtra, they eat this dried fish, which smells like hell itself. But people eat those things, so that taste is very much there. Now they have caused suffering to some living entity on a regular basis, so there will be some punishment, hellish punishment for that. Next birth, they would be degraded to the life of a chandal or an animal, eating such kind of obnoxious things because they have a taste. Once they take that degraded position in that species, then they will be gradually purified spiritually in that species. So that spiritual purification does not mean that they will be chanting Harinam at the end of that life, but at the end of that life, they will be spiritually a bit more advanced. One part of that sinful desire would be satisfied, they would have moved a bit further. So this is how this hellish punishment system works. Like a
Great.
prisoner, when he's set,
Thank you.
like when a prisoner comes out of prison, he's not entirely free. He has to report to a police station. If a murderer is released from prison after his punishment is over, they say, okay, every month you must come to this police station and make a report.
Nice,
Right?
Prabhuji. Very nicely explained. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yes, so any other question? We have like 3 minutes, so we can take maybe the other verse is a bit long.
Prabhuji, the previous verse we read that the Yamaraj who is instructing to Vishnu Yamadutas about not to go even near to the devotees. Like this verse which is very heavy, like Yamaraj is speaking very heavily. Even if he is taking the name of him and Brahmaji. So like the thing is, even such illusion that in this world after getting human birth, even knowing this verse also, knowing how valuable the devotional service, how valuable the devotional life, how risk free it is, totally risk free at point one has to like understand, but still it is like uh, we are like not putting that much importance to devotional life.
Yeah, this is also a warning against Vaishnava Aparadh. Now imagine if Vishnu can kill Yamaraj himself if he harasses a devotee, then what is our position? We have read previously that Yamaraj is as good as Paramatma himself. And then if he fears that Lord will kill him if he does something sinful, you can imagine what is our position. So we should not offend Vaishnavas, especially those who are preaching the holy names of the Lord in strict pursuance of the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. So one should
True,
be very
Prabhuji.
careful. Those who follow Mahaprabhu's footsteps, they should never be harassed.
Yes, Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, just like to tell you, you like said that Prabhupada speaking very harshly
Hmm.
to ladies, or Prabhupada is very strict. So in
Hmm.
this matter, like I was hearing a lecture of Kesavananda Prabhu and Kamal Guru of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He said that
Hmm.
like anybody wants to understand Srila Prabhupada should know about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. How strict he was and how lenient Prabhupada is now.
Yeah,
So
actually,
both.
it's both ways. In some places, Prabhupada is more strict. In some places, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is more strict. But they are both very merciful. That strictness is only to, purify us. That strictness is only to purify us. It is not to punish us or anything. All right, so we stop here then. We continue
Hare Krishna.
tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Srila
Thank you.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam, Hare Krishna.